Hello everyone! In today's video I will be showing you how to play effective openings in low elo. I will try to be the more detailed as possible in my explanations and I will try to take you through my entire thought process. In this video series I want to try to transmit the way I think to you so you can learn in a very practical and very dynamic way. So let's go for the first game. Okay, here we have the first game. We will be playing 10-minute games. So against e4, I really recommend you to play e5. I think it's an excellent way to start the game. Knight f3 develops the knight and attacks my pawn. Now, as I mentioned in a video series where I am teaching you the basic concepts of chess, at the beginning of the game, it's very important to develop the pieces to save squares. So that's why in this position, the most logical and the most principled move is knight c6, because I am protecting my pawn and at the same time I am developing my knight to an excellent square. My opponent decides to go for the Italian opening, so there is multiple ways to play against the Italian. There is the move bishop c5 and there is the move knight f6. For me, I really encourage you to learn a little bit of the move knight f6. This is why this is the move I will be playing here, because I feel after bishop c5, it is white the one who is deciding what to play most of the times, and white has a lot of variations where maybe he sacrifices a pawn or two, but he gets a lot of initiative. I feel when you are learning chess, you should try to fight for the initiative, and in this position, definitely knight f6 is the best move. Just that you have to learn in this position, you have to learn how to play against knight g5. Okay? Against knight g5, there is the move d5, and after pawn takes, you have to remember the move knight a5. And also against knight g5, there is a tricky move that you can apply as a surprise, which is knight takes e4. Maybe after the end of this game, I can show you a little bit of these ideas. So now my opponent decides to go for the move d3. And in this position, basically, I have like 4 or 5 different options. The principal move is bishop c5, just developing the bishop to a very natural square. There is the move h6, trying to prevent the knight from coming to g5. Usually h6, it's related to fianchetto in this bishop. After h6, you want to play g6 and bishop g7. So you play h6, so you have time to fianchetto the bishop without allowing now knight to g5, okay? Another option, which I really like, and this is actually the option that I will play in this game, is the move bishop e7. Why I like the move bishop e7? Because I feel it's a very stable development. And as I mentioned, it's very important to develop your pieces to save squares. So bishop c5, I feel, could be the best move from the objective point of view, but I feel bishop e7, it's more beginner friendly and you can get better results with this move. I will teach you in this game how to attack after playing the move bishop e7 and how to create insane attack to white's king. The move bishop c5, it requires more skill because on c5 the bishop will be less safe and you will need to learn a little bit more. So bishop e7, really simple move, really nice development. The bishop, it may seem a bit passive, but it really doesn't matter because in the future we can activate the bishop this way or actually this way. So it really doesn't matter. And the bishop on e7 prevents a possible pin on our f6 knight. This pin could be very annoying if we don't have the bishop on e7. So this is a move that I really recommend for beginners. And now we just castle. We finish the principles of the opening. We are developing the pieces, we are controlling the center, and we castle. Now he goes for the move bishop g5. And as you may look, with the bishop on e7, this is not a problem at all. We will just continue our development with d6, knight e5, and this is a typical mistake. My opponent is not castling, and my opponent is trying to go for an attack. And I really recommend you to remember this pattern, and this is a trick that will guarantee you a lot of wins if you play with the bishop on e7 on the Italian. So when he plays knight d5, we have the move knight takes d5, and now we are attacking this bishop with our bishop. And the problem for white, okay, if he does that, he will just lose a piece. And if he takes here, I will take with my knight back. And actually, I'm also winning a piece. So for white, the only real move here was to take with the pawn on d5, attacking my c6 knight. But after bishop takes d5, pawn takes knight, pawn takes pawn, I will end with a pawn up and a better center. So I have definitely a much better position. But this move is already a pretty bad mistake because now I have a piece up in the position and I will try to teach you how to convert a piece advantage. So basically here we will apply a very important rule. And this is also a bad move because it's changing pieces. So when you have a piece down, like my opponent in this game, you should not exchange the pieces because the longer, the more pieces he exchanges, the bigger is my advantage. Why? Because we can see the advantage just as a numerical advantage. I have a knight up, which means I have 3 more points, but we can also see it as a proportional advantage. So in this position, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces against 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. 5 to 4 means like he has 80% of my pieces in total. So he has 80% of my pieces. But if we trade pieces, imagine I have 2 pieces and he has 1. Maybe the numerical advantage is the same. Maybe I have 3 points up. But the proportional advantage it's much bigger for me because in that case I will be having um, the double as pieces as he does. So he will only have 50% of my pieces. So when you have a piece up, when you have 1 more piece, you should try to trade the more that you can. And here we can just take this pawn. Honestly, it's a free pawn. We attack the rook. The rook is in big trouble actually, and probably my opponent will lose this game pretty fast. And after we finish this game, I will teach you how he could have played better, and I will explain you a little bit the opening. Like I will show you different ideas and different concepts that you can apply in this opening. Okay? Trust me, you will enjoy playing this opening a lot. It will be easy. You will be safe all the time, and your opponent will not be safe. So this is an excellent choice for beginners, basically for non-professional players. As I mentioned, here we can actually win some material because we will be taking the rook. My opponent just decides to resign. So with this, we get 94 points of elo, and we can go to the analysis board and take a look at the game because there is few things I want to teach you. So when you play the move knight f6, you are attacking the pawn. So here white has 2 main moves, or actually 3. White can go d3, like my opponent did, protecting the pawn. White can go d4, counter-attacking the center, or white can go knight g5, just attacking the f7 square. The problem with knight g5 is that white is really underdeveloping. He's moving the knight again, and white is not well prepared for an attack. Even though this is a very interesting move, and I think if you study this move as white, it's very, very playable and actually a very, very interesting way to play. So here, the main move and the most important move that you should know is d5. And after white takes the pawn, it's very important not to take on d5, because if you take on d5, then knight takes f7 and attacks the queen, attacks the rook. You have to take with the king. Now queen f3 attacks the king and attacks the knight. If you move the king to this square, oops, checkmate. You have to give the queen or you have to block. Anyway, it will end up in checkmate. Actually, if white wants to be cooler, he can do it with the queen and just checkmate with the bishop. It's a bit cooler. So yeah, you have to bring the king up and basically protect your knight. But after knight c3, I really, really don't recommend you this playing style. You have a piece up, but look where your king is, in the middle of the board. So really, let's remember not to make the move knight takes d5. Don't make this move. You have to make the move knight a5 here. Very logical move, attacking the bishop. The knight, it looks a bit bad on the edge of the board, but take in account that white's pieces are also pretty bad. Like you're attacking the bishop, you can attack the knight with h6. And one important thing about this position is that you have this pawn majority that at some moment can create you an attack. So basically here bishop b5, and there is 2 playable moves here. Bishop d7, it's like a modern approach. But the most known line and the most classical line is move c6. And after pawn takes, I will give you a small guide of how you should play. So basically, if white goes queen to f3, my best recommendation is to sacrifice this exchange. You sacrifice this rook, and then you can just finish development, I believe, with bishop e7. This is the Dingley-Reng line, and then just castle. And in this position, your idea is to bring your queen to c7 or d7, bring this knight to c6, and trap this queen. So the reality for white is that he will need to move the queen again, and then you have moves like this or like this. I like this move better. And then you have, for example, this move attacking the knight, and you have this move. And this is how you should learn to play chess. Okay, you are exchange down. you have one bishop in exchange of a rook and a pawn. So you're losing by material. But look at the activity of your pieces. Look at this. Look at these bishops. Look at this pawn. Look at this knight completely unprotected in the middle of the board. You can attack this knight later and you can quickly make an attack against the white's king. So definitely I encourage you to just take this bishop in case of queen f3. And if white plays a move like bishop d3, I recommend you the move knight d5, which attacks this knight and also prepares knight f4, attacking the bishop. Really, I mean, you can expand and learn more theory about this, but I think until this moment it's enough for most players. And if white goes bishop e2, what you will do is just attack this knight, attack it again, and then just attack it with the bishop. And in this position, you can take en passant, because why not? And then you have a lot of piece activity. You are a pawn down, but you have a great development, and I really like this position for black. Um, this is pretty much the theory that you should know about this if you want to play it on a really, really, really great level. Now, in this position, there is a tricky move that I think has great results in beginner's level, which is the move knight takes e4. For me, this move in beginner's level, it's really great. Because the problem here is that white will be tempted to go here or go here. White has two very tempting moves, this move or this move. And if white goes here, then you have queen h4, attacking checkmate. And now white will probably protect the checkmate with g3. Now you have knight takes g3, attacking the bishop, attacking the rook. And after pawn takes, you have queen e4 check, and you will basically take this rook for free. Because if king f2, you have bishop c5 check. And if white goes castle, another very natural move, you have knight takes f2, attacking the queen, attacking the bishop. And the idea is very simple. After rook takes f2, bishop c5, pinning this piece, and let's say queen f1, protecting it, you can just take everything, and then just rook f8, and you will take this knight. So you will end up with a pawn up and a very, very nice position out of the opening. So if white takes on e4, you basically play d5. This is great. Really, really great for black. I mean, black is basically much better here because at the end of the day, you will end up in something like this. You can play bishop d6 or bishop d7 or bishop d6, I mean, and then you can just castle and throw these pawns. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. F5, imagine he takes. You will just attack with these pawns and the two bishops. It's a great position. So this was a brief introduction because when you study chess, especially as a beginner, you don't need to learn that much of a theory, but there is few lines, there is few ideas that you should know a little bit at least. And in this position, I promise you that this is actually the only idea that you should maybe learn a little bit how to play. So I hope this introduction is enough for you. By the way, the problem with knight takes e4 is that white can play this move and then white can play this move, but this is very challenging and this is very hard. Or white can play this move, which I think it's impossible that a beginner will play in this position, honestly, because it doesn't make that much of a sense. So it will be hard that one of your opponents knows how to punish the move knight takes e4. This is why in beginners levels, this move has great results, proven by statistics. I mean, I am not making this up. I looked on Leach's database, and below 1800, this move has like a 60-70% of score for black. So it could really work below 1800. Now, d3, and now we play bishop e7. The most common way to play for white is just to castle and make a move like this. And I basically want to show you how to create a fast attack for black when you have the bishop on e7, which is a line that I really love. Imagine white plays, I don't know, random moves. Like, okay, it's for black's turn. Okay, let's say he plays this, you play here, he plays this, you play here. And now you're setting it up. Imagine white develops like this, you bring your king here, and imagine white tries to launch an attack this way. You will play with the move knight g5. This is one idea. The bishop on e7 is supporting it, but especially the move f5. You will go f5, you will activate this bishop, you will activate this rook, this knight will come to g5, and you can create a fast attack against the white's king. And this attack is fully justified justified, and it's a really good way to play. So this is pretty much the idea of this setup. One of the multiple ideas. Actually, there is many ways, many ways we can play this setup. But one idea is just to bring the knight to h7, move the king, and prepare the move f5. Also, you can play it like this, and just f5. This is also very interesting. The only problem with this, compared to the other variation, is that the knight is not so well located on g8. But it's also a way you can play, and I think in below 2000 level, this will give you great results, really fantastic results. So coming back to the game, I want to show you again the typical trick. Remember this pattern, because this pattern occurs a lot, really a lot. The knight on d5, the bishop on d5. I have the knight on f6, the bishop on e7, and the queen on d8. Remember it, please, because here a lot of times, I will not say always because I don't like to generalize in chess, and it's actually not always, but a lot of times the move knight takes d5 will win a piece or at least a pawn. Why so? Because we are attacking here, and if he takes, we can take back with this knight, and this is the key. This is the key of this maneuver. Now we are just a piece up. If we count, he has one bishop, we have one bishop, he has one knight, oop, we have two knights. So we are just a piece up, and it will be an easy win if we start trading the pieces. Because as I mentioned, here he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. We have 6 pieces. So he has like, I don't know, 85% of the pieces that we have. But if we start trading and we end up in a situation where we have 2 pieces and he only has one, he only has 50% of the pieces that we have. So the advantage is much bigger. The less pieces we have, the advantage gets bigger. So which are the good moves we need to play in this position? Moves like bishop e6 and try to trade the bishops. Move knight d4 and try to trade the knights. One very important concept that I want to tell you is that the best way to trade pieces is to place your pieces on good squares. And your opponent, he will be forced to trade them. If you know how to place the pieces on the good squares, it will be forced for your opponent to trade them. So if you want to learn all the theoretical concepts that I teach you during this video, I am making a theoretical series. I will leave the video, I don't know, here or there. I really don't know where, but I will leave the video so you can watch it, and I will be teaching you in the next lessons how to find good squares for your pieces. So if you don't want to miss that out, subscribe to my channel. Also, it helps me a lot, and I will keep making content for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate a lot your likes, your comments, and I thank you for watching, and I see you on the next video. Bye.